So hello everybody, I'm so excited because today with me, not exactly with me, but actually also with me virtually, I have got Arthur Thorpe. Arthur Thorpe, I should have checked the date, but I will check that later, very early on. And he was the first person that I booked on a job. So not only is he brilliant, he also means a huge lot because of this. So welcome, Arthur.
Thank you.
How are you, my darling?
I'm very well, thanks. Yeah,
Good.
just had a bit of time off from a busy schedule. Had a day off today, so been out and about in the city and relaxing, which has been quite nice.
And can I just say, I want to thank you for spending it with us.
Of course.
Also still working in a way, right? So I would love you to share, first of all, what job you're on right now.
So I am one of the actor puppeteers on NLP Ltd Productions tour of Tales from Acorn, which was written by Julia Donaldson and Axel Scheffler. So there's a lot of lots of puppetry. It's a children's theatre show. So lots of high energy and interaction with the audience, and yeah.
Wow, amazing. So tell me about the puppets first of all.
So the puppets range in size, although they're all hefty puppets. So we have some which are probably, we have Blackbird, which is like maybe about a meter tall. But they're all Bunraku style puppets. So they're all puppeteered the usual way. But then we also have a couple of birds and a butterfly and a dragonfly, which we bring out at the beginning on the end of massive fishing poles, really? Which we have as a pre-show when the audience is coming in, and we sort of fly them across the stage and interact with the kids to give them like a soft introduction to the puppets. And then there are 5, I think. There's 4 or 5 puppets which are like about my height, so like roughly 5'6"-ish. Yeah, and we sort of get strapped into them around the waist, and we put them over our put their feet over our shoes, and then we walk around with them and puppeteer them that way.
Wow. So do you know how, like, especially the big ones, do you know how heavy they are?
Not specifically, but they are heavy enough that you get a good workout from doing a show. Definitely.
So this is so amazing, isn't it, to think about that? So obviously you perform, but then you've also got this added pressure of manipulating, if you like, to bring to life these beautiful puppets, and the weight. You find, is it more to think about as a result?
I think in the rehearsal process, yes, definitely. Particularly devising a new show, there's like, you've got to focus so much more on sight lines and where your puppets are looking, and making sure you're not in the way of the puppet and being the sort of audience's focus. You need to make sure you're out of the way. So there's definitely a lot to think about in the rehearsal process. And then being on stage, I don't know if there's more to think about, but it's definitely very different. I feel like it engages a different part of your brain, because we, as puppeteers, we are not the ones to show the emotion. It all comes through the puppet. So it's, although we have to have the sentiment within us in order to make the puppet work properly, it's more about the aesthetic. Not completely, but there is more on the aesthetic than the sort of internal emotions for us.
I've never thought of that. So if your puppet is looking directly at the audience, for example, then do you have to look down so the audience is not focused on you?
Yeah, so you would typically look at the part of the puppet that you are operating. So on a standard Bunraku puppet, there's 3 people, one who does the head and so for example, if you're right-handed, you do the head with your right hand, and then you do the left hand. Someone would be on the waist and the other hand, and then there would be someone on the feet, and you'd open out your peripheral vision, but your main focus would be on, for example, the head and the arm, and then you would be using your peripheral vision to check in with the puppet and make sure that everything is aligned and that you're in the right part of the stage and all of that. It's a bit different with this show because, as I say, we have very large puppets that we are puppeteering individually, so we have to be a little bit more aware of everything. But yeah, I tend to, as much as possible, when I'm operating the head, you sort of use the puppet's eyes to tell you where you are, basically. So you've got to be able to focus on the puppet, but also look where the puppet is looking at the same time.
That's so amazing. I've never ever thought of that. So the puppet becomes the character and the actor becomes the backdrop almost.
Don't know how you would explain it, but yeah, the puppet definitely is the character, and we are sort of the operators who, we're still the storytellers because we're obviously bringing the puppets to life, but it's a very different way of keeping the story moving forward.
Absolutely. Yeah. Oh, that's so amazing. So what do you feel being on this tour has taught you?
It has definitely taught me the importance of sleeping well. And getting a good night's sleep.
Out then. I could never be a puppeteer. Oh wow. Just is that in order to replenish your body? Well, on top of that, I would also say stretching and making sure, like, warm-ups and stuff are very, very important, like physically, definitely. But yeah, in terms of sleeping, I think, like, at the moment we've just done 2 days of 3 shows, and we're going into a week of 3 show days, and then we get Christmas Day off, and then we go into another week of 2 or 3 show days. So it is high energy for at least 3 hours a day, like broken up, but an hour show 3 times a day, and making sure you have enough energy to get through each show without calling it in, and still giving something to the audience. I think it's very important to make sure you're well rested. That's a really good point, because if you, for example, if you didn't sleep well and you're like low in energy or like feeling stiff because you hadn't stretched, then that is going to potentially take the attention away from the puppet, isn't it?
Yeah, if you're not able, I think with puppeteering there's such incredible focus that you need to give to the puppet and to what you're doing, that it can be so draining. And if you for a second look away from the puppet and then the audience, I guess when you're on stage, we as bodies, we tell the audience where to look by where we're looking. So if we're looking at the puppets, the audience will be looking at the puppets. And as soon as we start going like this, and the audience will be looking at us, or they'll be looking at whatever we're looking at. And God,
that's so interesting. So you're a guide as well as mastering the movements. That is, oh wow, I've never thought of it. I'm so excited because I'm coming to see the show on the 28th of January. So in order to put this, and actually for me to see it live, I will just have so much appreciation, and more so now because I've never thought of it. I've never worked with a puppet. I've been in a play with puppets, but I've never, you know, not me actually personally working them. Do the puppets, I've seen obviously the beautiful photographs from the show. Do they have a life of their own almost?
Yeah, I think when we were devising the piece, there's a lot of, from the way the puppets look, they give you a lot of the character of the puppet already. And particularly, I think one of the hardest parts of puppeteering is finding the right voice to fit the puppet. And so much of that comes through trial and error and doing a voice and finding out it doesn't work and doing a different voice and whatever. But I think there's, for one of the puppets that I play is Mole, who is this very small mole, obviously, with a shirt and a little jacket on, and he's got these big round glasses, and he's got such wide eyes wherever he looks, and it just, from the way the puppets move, what they can and can't do physically, and the way they look, really give you an idea of who they are, and and what their personalities are and their voices are. Yeah,
that's so amazing. So did the writer because they've been adapted from children's book, or
yes,
haven't they? So
yes,
did
they have
the writer of the books or the illustrator have any say in the voices that you have chosen for the puppets?
No, they haven't. We've had free range on that, so we
Amazing.
yeah.
And have they been able to see it?
They haven't come. I think their producers have come.
Okay.
And I think we heard that they really enjoyed it, which is good.
Yeah.
But they haven't managed to come and see it yet. Hopefully they'll come at some point.
Yeah, that would be amazing, because you're literally bringing the book to life. So what was it? Would you say it's the puppet that told you, no, this is not my voice, almost?
Yeah, I think there's a bit of, there's definitely a lot of that. I think you sort of feel through the weight of the puppet, and it's the sort of gravitas that the puppet has as you hold it, and also the text and what it is that the puppet's saying, and whether they are particularly intelligent or whether they're not, or whether they're vocal or whatever. That definitely gives you an idea of something to work with. But I mean, throughout the rehearsal process, we helped each other out in that sense a lot, and helped each other find what was right for the puppets, particularly going up against the other puppets and not having two animals in the same scene, not having two animals in a whole scene together sounding exactly the same, because then that's just going to get irritating. And
makes sense. That, gosh. So your rehearsal process, how long was it?
It was, so we had a couple of days of sort of pre-rehearsals, I guess, in September, and then we had, I think it was about 2.5 weeks of actual rehearsals, and then the rest of the week was tech, so about 3 weeks overall. Right. From the beginning through to the first performance.
That's a lot, isn't it? A lot in there. So so when you started rehearsal, were you like, was it scary?
It was, yeah. It was, I think it feels like when you have puppets, there needs that extra little bit of time in order to find the sort of the detail of each piece. But we had a very good team who were able to find that relatively quickly. So it was it was, as the rehearsals went on, it got less daunting.
Okay,
Yeah.
good, and more comfortable. So I remember in your audition with me to join the agency, you had said that you would absolutely love to be a puppeteer. So even though you had that as one of your goals, it still ended up taking you by surprise, would you say, the amount of work?
Yeah, I think so. I think, well, from the puppeteering experience that I have, it's been mainly workshops and like a character that appears in a couple of scenes throughout a full show. I've never actually done, I've never been just a puppeteer for a whole show.
Okay.
So it's definitely been a much more full-on experience than what I've been used to. But jumping in at the deep end, that's the best way to do it, I think.
Absolutely. So. And just to show that you can, you know, I have complete faith in you. And obviously the director who cast you did, so, you know, and you're still there. So that's
yeah.
And you're still alive.
So far, so good. Yeah.
And you're still resting and stretching. So
indeed.
So how long in total is the tour going to be?
So we are in Birmingham until New Year's Eve. That is our last day of shows. And then we've got 3 weeks off, in January. So we start back up on the 26th of January in York, and then we finish up on the 15th of April, I believe, in Exeter. So it's still got about 2 months left.
Amazing.
After we come back.
So can you recall after York and before Exeter where you're going?
We have, not in order, we're going to the Lowry. We're doing,
that's where I'm coming.
Yeah, I can't remember the names of a lot of theatres, but we're going to St Helens, we're going to St Albans, we're going to Stevenage. We are doing the South Bank Centre in London for 3 days, I think, in February. We are doing St Exeter. We're milling about a lot, really. There's a lot of venues that we're cramming into those 2 months.
Oh, cool.
So,
and you know, and the major venues like the Lowry Theatre, and obviously the South Bank Centre in London,
very exciting.
Just amazing, like as venues just to get into, no matter what studio theatre you're in, even it's just so cool. And I will absolutely post the link to for tickets.
Thank you.
Absolutely, so welcome, because it just sounds so lovely. I wish I could bring my friends' children. It would just be so lovely, but I'm going to tell them anyway. Just pop down the road for a few hours, or up.
Yeah, definitely.
The other too. They're so amazing. So what have you learned, would you say, as a result of doing the show?
That's a good question. I've definitely learned a lot of things. I have learned that, well, as we discussed earlier, the importance of keeping your mind and your body healthy, and looking after yourself, for sure. I have learned I've learned to find new ways to keep a show fresh. Not that I can do it every time, but that it is very important to allow yourself, even if it's only a tiny thing here or there, just something that keeps you interested in the show, because it's obviously so important that, and if you go and see a show where the actors aren't enjoying themselves, you can really tell, and it affects the audience's experience. I think I've learned how to, I've learned a lot of skills in terms of interacting with audiences, and like when is good to sort of have a little bit of fun, and when audiences aren't feeling it, when you can try and coax them out of their shells. or when audiences are too much and you need to sort of bring them down a little bit.
Yeah,
So
children, they're going to be excited anyway going to the theatre, and then they love these storybooks. So I can imagine the excitement, like mole, or, you know, or whomever, just like how can they contain themselves? So that's a really good point. Is it different puppeteering live than how you imagined it would be?
What do you mean? Do you mean?
So, like when you said to me in your audition, "Oh, I'd love to be a puppeteer," but now that you're actually puppeteering, it's different.
I don't think so. I think, I mean, I think it will completely depend on the sort of genre of the show that you're doing, and the sort of the type of puppets that you're doing, whether it's something really small and you're just using hand puppets, or whether it's some of these beautiful, however many feet tall puppets that you're doing that are outdoors and in wonderful locations. I think it's definitely, I mean, it's one of those things where you don't know how much physically it's going to sort of cost until you do it. But yeah, it's been great being a part of the team with some very experienced puppeteers, and sort of learning bits and bobs from them, and sort of being able to be a bit of a sponge and just let everything sit from watching them and from talking to them and everything.
Nice, really nice. So that's obviously, they've been helpful because they're experienced. After your rehearsal period finished, and can you remember the first day of live shows? Was it one show, or can you remember how many you had that day?
I think it was one show, because we went to Dartford and we did the get-in in the morning, and then they had to do all of the rigging, and our show deals a lot with like we have a big AV background.
Cool.
And so they have to sort all of that out, make sure it's in the right place, make sure everything's working properly. So when we're on tour, we tend to just do one show on the first day of each venue, because they need to get everything sorted, and then we do 2 or 3 the next day to make up for it.
And has everything been okay thus far? I mean, I shouldn't even ask that question.
No, it's we haven't had to cancel a show yet. We haven't had to postpone a show yet. No, there's been a couple of funny mishaps, where particularly when we've gone on to more raked stages, because our set is so flat that as soon as we get onto a slightly wonky stage, they all start. And with the books being pop-up books, we have a lot of doors that open and windows that open, and animals come out and whatever. And there was one venue, I can't remember where it was, maybe it was Crewe, I can't remember. And we went on the stage, and there was one moment where one of the doors is supposed to open just enough so that a beak can pop out when Pig is searching in hide and seek Pig, and then we all go, "Oh, can you spot a beak?" And the door was so jammed shut that when it was pushed open, it flew open completely, and and that was something that we had to deal with. But it wasn't a disaster at all. It was easy to continue. And
good.
Yeah.
So was the door was left open?
Well,
someone go and close it?
No, someone came in. So the way that sequence worked was that in hide and seek Pig, we're searching for Hen, and we're playing hide and seek with Hen, hen is hiding, pig is seeking, and pig goes along one by one and finds different locations, and for the first one, blackbird's beak will pop out, and then we'll go, oh, do we know who that is? And pig will say, oh, that's hen. And then we go and look, and then obviously it's not hen, and then we go off and do the same with rabbit with their ear and blah, blah, blah. And so luckily in that sequence, what would have happened is blackbird's beak would pop out, and then it would go back in, and then we would do some AV to reveal blackbird, and then blackbird would come out on stage anyway. So that was the next thing, was that we would see blackbird on stage. So luckily for that, it was the next thing was revealing blackbird anyway. So we sort of just went, oh, it's blackbird, and carried on, and missed the first gag. But yeah.
So there you go. So that's why being good at improvisation is always a really good skill to have.
Definitely,
right?
definitely. Yeah. Keep you on your toes.
You got away with that, and it didn't ruin things.
Mm-hmm.
Good. So I had no idea there's like an AV screen. So it's almost like a multimedia.
Yeah, definitely.
Wow, amazing. Yeah, that's so cool. So would you puppeteer again?
Yes. Yeah.
Hey, without hesitation.
Definitely. Yeah.
I love that.
Yeah, I think it's a wonderful art form, and I think there are so many things that you can do with puppets that you can't do with regular people, because we are bound by lots of different laws that puppets aren't. So
yeah, good point, actually, including gravity, except
exactly. Yeah.
Good point. And emotions.
You
know,
yeah, definitely.
I'm just wondering about your next goal. So you've ticked one. Okay, so let's split that into two. Let's go, this is children's theater and it's puppeteering. So would you like to do puppeteering for adults? But also that's two questions, because I also would love to ask you, what does theater bring to children?
Well, to answer your first question, yes, I would very much love to do puppetry for adults. And I think that really excites me, the how abstract you can take a show with puppetry. And there's so much already that audiences have to suspend their disbelief to believe that the puppet is alive, although hopefully not too much if the puppeteers are doing well. But there's already that level of giving themselves to the story that you can take them on a bigger journey. So yeah, I would love to do puppetry for adults. And then in terms of what theatre brings children, I think it's just so much. Yeah, I mean, even being exposed to stories and to going and watching live performance, and yeah, there's something magical about going to watch live performances, and I think the earlier you're exposed to it, the better, because I think it really informs who we are as people, and it inspires people to, I don't know, to go out and be who they want to be, and to sort of to find their own passion, and also children's theatre is just so much fun, and I think that's what kids need, really, is to have fun and to grow up and not have too much pressure put on them by whatever it is, whether it's school or whether it's like home life or whatever it is. I think giving children the ability or the opportunity to disappear into the world of whatever story it is for an hour or so, I think is incredibly important.
Yeah. Do you find the children, obviously they can be very excited, but for the most part, have they been very respectful?
Yeah, they have actually. I think we've only had one stage invasion so far, which was stopped quite quickly by the child's respective guardian.
Cool.
But yeah, no, there's been no. The kids have all gotten involved a lot. They've all been really enthusiastic. They've all been really keen to sort of to be heard. I think it's what I've found quite interesting, which I think makes complete sense when I think about it, is the shows the shows during the week where all of the schools come in are really, really loud, because all of the kids are there with their mates and they've got all of the energy from each other and they're all really confident and having so much fun. And then there's sometimes when on the weekend they come in with their parents and they might be a little bit more timid and it takes a little bit more to get it out of them. But the parents are usually very good at sort of making sure that their kids know that it's okay to get involved.
Yeah, that's a good point, isn't it? Because like I've been asked a question, but is it okay? Is it rhetorical, or am I actually allowed to speak out?
Yeah.
So sweet. That's lovely, isn't it?
Yeah.
To know that we can join it really and be like a part of it. This is why I adore theatre. Because so many people spend so much time watching television or movies, and there is nothing like live theatre, like nothing. I went to see some of my young performers last night in just in a stage school doing Beauty and the Beast, and it was in a dance studio, great set, and they did beautifully. And I drove the hour home just as if I'd been to Sadler's Wells, or it was just magical. I mean, yes, okay, movies, you've got a huge budget and it can do this, but there's something about theatre, isn't there? Can you describe that? Like, do you know what that is?
I think there's something so present about theatre, in that with TV and with film, you can watch it over and over again and you don't necessarily have to be paying attention, because you can rewind and you can watch it again or whatever. But I think with theatre, there's something so special about knowing that you and the people in the room that you're with are the only ones that are going to see this version of this performance. And the stakes are so much higher, because you can't just stop the show and go, okay, can we do that again? So yeah, I mean, you can feel it when you go into a theatre and there's the buzz of everyone chatting to each other beforehand, and then the lights go down and everyone starts going, oh, it's starting, and then shuts up, and then it begins, and there's it's almost as if everyone's holding their breath for the beginning of the performance, and then you don't really let that out again until either the interval or the end of the show, because you're just so encapsulated by everything that's happening in front of you.
I've never thought of it that way. Thank you for sharing your thoughts. You said exactly it. Present. You're so present in that moment, because you know if you're not wholly focused, you could potentially miss something, and look or something if you're switching off, going, oh, what will I have later? It's so true. And we don't have the pause option. We go and get some tea or juice or whatever. So that's so cool. So for that hour, or however long the show may be, not only are we transformed into a world of magic, but we are completely mindful. And how many of us give ourselves time to be really focused and at one?
Yeah, definitely.
With the art, that is too cool. So you spoke about rest and you spoke about stretching. I would imagine sometimes you finish a day of shows, or maybe the weekend if you've got. Do you get, like, how much time do you get off, I should say?
So at the moment in Birmingham, we are, because it's the lead up to Christmas and New Year and everything, we are not getting a massive amount of time off. I mean, we've had a couple of days off, and we're getting Christmas Day off. But we are, yeah. But we're quite full on at the moment. When we were touring, and when we go to tour in spring, it'll be a little bit better actually. We had a couple of days off here and there between venues, and there was a few times, I think there was once or twice that we had 2 days off in a row, which was quite nice. And then in the spring tour, because the old tour was supposed to happen before COVID, so it was all a bit of going to venues as and when they could fit us in.
Right.
So there was a bit of like moving around.
Okay.
Yeah, but in spring it's a new tour.
Right.
So there will be.
Okay, I'm with you. So can you imagine if it had gone ahead before, you would have still been training, so you wouldn't have been involved in that one. So boom, how does it get any better than that?
Yeah, very lucky that's
yeah.
Well, personally, but
for sure. So when you get 2 days off in a row, are you tempted to go, oh well, I've got 2 days off, I'm going to go and party?
Yes. Yeah, I am. And I think to a certain extent that is also, I mean, from a socializing aspect, I think that is another form of rest and sort of self-care.
Yeah.
But yes, doing it in moderation is definitely definitely what I have been, if I've been, but I mean I haven't really been going out and partying at all, but yeah, making sure that it's been tempting, but I've managed to rein myself in, and because I think obviously as soon as you go and do that, then the whole next day is not, you don't rest because you're already hungover or ill or whatever, and then the next day you're not fully rested from that day. So yeah,
good point. So apart from rest and enough sleep and obviously the stretching, what else does your self-care routine look like? Like, what about food? Because I know when I was on tour, I was shocking. I would go, oh my gosh, no time in between shows, I'll just have some fast food. It was just ridiculous.
I
handle that side.
On tour it was quite difficult, and I had to try my hardest to make sure that I was, particularly when for myself, staying in digs or staying in hotels that don't have kitchens, I found it quite hard to be sort of good with cooking food because I was in someone else's space. So it was a bit more tricky. But now, I mean, in Birmingham at the moment, I'm staying in a flat with just myself and the stage manager. So we've got our own space, so it's much better. So now I'm cooking batch meals that I can have for lunch and for dinner and for whatever.
Gosh, that's a dedication.
Yeah. But yeah, it's definitely, it's very tough. And it's so tempting to just go for the easy option of grabbing some fast food or a meal deal, which I definitely do more often than I should. Just sort of constantly reminding myself that that is also a very important thing that we need is the right food.
Absolutely. It definitely, what we put in our bodies has an effect, either good or bad, or over a sustained time. Obviously now and then it really doesn't matter, but over a sustained time for sure it's going to impact us in some level. Something else to think about.
Definitely.
What about water? Because you're on stage, you're obviously holding the lights anyway, or carrying, manipulating heavy. Do they call it manipulating actually, or acting, or
puppeteering?
Yeah.
I mean, I guess so.
Yeah. So it's Thursday work, I imagine.
Yeah. It's I'm definitely drinking a lot more water than I would be doing usually. Not on this job, I mean. But yeah, it's that's one thing that we've all managed to find as the shows have gone on, is where in our, because we're on stage a lot in the show.
Okay.
So it's making sure we put our water bottle in the right spot, that as soon as we're off into the wings for 10 seconds, we can have a quick swig and then get back on. Because it's
quick.
yeah it's
Get
definitely.
your beak out of the way, Blackbird. Yeah, interesting. Yeah, of course, because if you're on stage a lot, then yeah, interesting. Do you have a favorite puppet?
Yes, I think, well, maybe I shouldn't say that.
I know.
But I really enjoy Mole, because he's very cute and he's just such a sweetheart. He just bumbles along, and yeah, he seems to, the character of Mole seems to have lots of just general positive energy. Obviously they all do, but Mole seems to be, I don't know,
there's something special about it. Have you read the books, or did you read a book before starting?
I hadn't read them before booking this job, but yeah, we read through them. There was, each time we were rehearsing, we had a copy of each story in the room while we were doing it, just to make sure we were not putting in too many different things, and we need to stick to the actual text of the book as much as possible as well. So
just to be authentic. Okay,
exactly.
Yeah, awesome.
Yeah.
Okay, so yeah, now you've got that. I've got a question to ask you. Let me just stretch here before I ask you something, Charlie. I'd like to know what what voice would you give this dragon? It was given to me by a very good friend of mine, and for Valentine's Day, and we were shopping for entirely unrelated products, and I went, oh, because I was born in the year of the dragon, so I love dragons. She got him for me secretly, and I don't even know if it's a he. I changed my mind sometimes. But look at that face!
Yeah, wonderful, absolutely wonderful.
What would you say? What do you think he or she sounds like?
I think they look very kind and very pure. I think there would be a sort of, yours the wrong word, but it would be, I don't know, I think there would be a sort of, oh, hello, I'm the dragon, and how are you? Oh, yes. something along those lines.
No,
I don't
love
know.
it. I recently moved him. I've always wanted to hang him from my ceiling so he's above somehow. I've never got around to it because I feel kind of sad strangling him with wire, with fishing wire. So he's now at the end of my bed. That face, face, but kind. You're right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's sweet. Thank you for doing that. So just tell me about, where did you train?
So I trained at Fourth Monkey in London, Fourth Monkey Actor Training Company.
Oh, and did they do any puppeteering with
Yes.
you?
Yeah. So we had half a term, I can't remember, with a man called Tom Espiner, who is a puppeteer and has been for however long, and is very, very good. So we had that built into the course. So we did some actual puppetry classes, And then we also, within the work that we devised, with it being a more physical theatre focused training course, we were encouraged to bring in as many different aspects of theatre as we possibly could. So there was, when we did Welcome to Thebes by Maura Buffini, we had one of the characters was a puppet because they didn't have any lines. So myself and a couple of others took turns during the show to puppeteer the character. And then that obviously wasn't devised, but in our devised piece, we, I think we did a show that ended up having very, very little text to it, which was wonderful. And yeah, we got to puppeteer in many different ways. We had lots of things. It was set in space, so we had lots of things on the end of sticks that we sort of floated through the air. We had we used a Hoover nose, I guess, and that was the astronauts.
Oh, clever!
Yeah, for the oxygen tank, and then that also came out and became a snake, as like in space. So yeah, so we did some that was part of the course, and then we did some that we created ourselves. Yeah.
Amazing. So big thanks, obviously, to Fourth Monkey for giving
massively.
As well as your attitude. What are the puppets made of? Do you know?
That's a good question. I'm not good with materials. It is a sort of, it's not polyester, but it's maybe something like that. They're not like wood heavy,
right?
But they have some good weight to them.
Okay, and they've got support of some sort.
Yes.
Yeah. Strap.
And they have, that's their sort of structure, and then they also have the beautiful felt that covers that, in whatever color the animal is, and with whatever hairstyle and tails and whatever that come with each animal.
So much work, isn't it, that goes into the creation of the puppet?
Yeah,
Did you
definitely
see them being made? Did you see drawings, or did they literally just turn up on?
No, so we didn't see drawings, but in the audition we actually got to play around with Pig and Rabbit, who were unfinished at the time, but were brilliant, and were done enough that we could mess around with them. And then as the rehearsal process went on, they got more bits added onto them and adjusted and made to fit. Once we found out which of the actors were puppeteering which animal, we could sort of make them fit around the actor.
Was there a reason? Did they explain the reason why they chose a particular actor for a particular animal?
I can't remember. I think we as I say, we had the 2 days of sort of pre-rehearsals where we played around with the characters then, and I think there was a bit of a matchup of the energy that we got from the characters from the books and the energy that we as actors were giving to the room, and fitting those together in order to make the relationship between actor and puppet as coherent as possible.
Nice. So you're obviously just like a cute mole going through life. Oh, that is so amazing. What happens? Do any of the puppet makers travel with you? Because I'm just wondering what happens if there was damage, because you're moving them a lot and it's quite a physical show. So what would happen then?
Well, hopefully we won't need to find out. But the sort of minor problems of, like, if some stitching has come undone or something like that, we don't have any of the puppet makers touring with us, so we deal with those problems ourselves, although I have to admit that the others having a lot more experience with puppets than I do, I sort of tend to step away from the puppets and let them handle the problem, because they know what they're doing a lot more than I do. So yeah, so it's we are the ones who fix the puppets, yeah. Although we had, during the week off between the tour and the Birmingham residency, the puppets went back to the puppet maker, and there were tweaks and replacements and whatever made. So they're not completely discarded and given to us. Yeah.
Have you watched Pinocchio yet?
The Guillermo del Toro?
Yeah.
Yes, I watched it a couple of days ago. Yeah, I loved it.
Did
yeah,
you?
I thought it was beautiful. I love stop motion animation. And yeah, it was just, I mean, it must have just taken so long to do, and so much love and care in order to get everything to work the way that it did. Yeah, I thought it was a brilliant film.
Yeah. Oh, that's so interesting. I only thought of that. Yeah, and isn't it amazing how it transformed onto the screen, or transferred onto the screen just easily, actually.
Yeah, definitely.
So anything you can think of that you'd like to share with anyone who's watching, about whether it's touring for a long time, whether it's actually stepping into what is actually a really difficult role in many ways for several reasons? Anything you could offer, or just in general that you'd like to share and pass on?
I think, yeah, being kind to yourself is definitely important, and knowing when you're struggling and when you need a little bit of help from other people, and knowing that although you are striving to be the best that you can, it is okay to have an off day, and to sort of to not be perfect in every single way possible. You can still put on a brilliant performance without being perfect. So yeah.
Amazing. So yeah, being kind on those days, even by not judging yourself, I guess.
Yeah.
Isn't it? Because so many actors and artists in general just give themselves such a hard time. So yeah, that's beautiful. Thank you. I appreciate you passing that on. Thank you so much. I really want to say thank you for taking the time, like on a few days off ahead of a 3-day week before Christmas Day. Have a wonderful Christmas Day off.
Thank you, and you.
Thank you. Are you enjoying working with the more experienced puppeteers?
Yes, definitely. It's yeah, I mean, it's just great to keep learning. I think that's one of the main things that we have to remind ourselves as actors, is that although we may have been lucky enough to go and do training and whatever and be performing, we're still evolving, we're still learning everything, and you're never a finished product. There's always more to find out about yourself, both professionally and personally. So yeah, it's great to have other, particularly when we're touring, to have other sort of more experienced and other ways of learning. Yeah,
amazing. And are they very giving in passing on information and stuff?
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
Well, yeah, I want to thank them for supporting you. I want to thank Derek for casting you. I want to thank you. I am so proud and so happy, like proud of you and happy for you, to catch you up with, your dream to be a puppeteer. It just, and spreading so much joy. How does it get any better than that, truly?
Exactly.
So happy for you, and really looking forward to seeing you at the Lowry Theatre.
Yeah, very excited.
Seriously, so thank you so much.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
And please say hi to your cast members and your puppets.
I will. I will.
Thank you. Do take care.
And you.
Thank you. Bye.
Bye bye.